Recording in progress.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 7th. Any additions, deletions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye. Make a motion, we approve the non-public meeting minutes of June 7th.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the non-public meeting minutes of June 7th. Any additions, deletions? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Anything added to it?
Yes, I added an intent to cut and 2 personnel action reports for summer seasonal employees.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda. And with the additions, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Public input. Okay,
Beverly, I'll make the motion regarding Gus Lerandeau to the Southwest Regional Planning Commission.
Second.
motion's been made and seconded to approve Gus Lerandeau for the Southwest Regional Planning Commission. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Considering new business. Update of tax maps.
So our long multi-year tax map update is pretty much complete. The last step is the fun part, so let people know kind of the results. Again, it's only for taxation purposes, so we're not saying you don't own how much you thought you owned, but we might be telling people we're going to be taxing them on different acreage than they thought they owned. So we had a meeting a month or so ago now with CAI, which is the mapping company, and then last week had an update with Avatar, which is our assessing company, because obviously everything's going to need to be changed and updated in there. So I wanted to make sure we could make that change between tax billings like we are now, and they said we could. So I think the goal should be to try to decide on a outreach option ASAP, and then get everything entered in so that the new acreages are and the new mapping lots are reflected on the second tax billing. From their experience, CAI has kind of proposed a few different options, or has seen towns go through a few different options, which they outlined. The most aggressive and costly, both in terms of dollars for the mailing and also staff time, would be a direct mailing to every property with their kind of old info versus new info. That's the best way to make sure as many people as possible know about it. Probably would get us the largest turnout if we wanted to have public meetings, kind of similar to what we do when we do a reval. We have the assessors come in and have a few days, you know, a night, a weekday, a weekend, where people can come in and, you know, discuss their assessment changes. This is a little bit different, but kind of along that same idea. Would have CAI come out and be available to have discussions with people. Basically, the discussion is similar to what I think we could have. So while it does put a little bit more on staff, I just hate to see them come down from various parts of the state to potentially sit in a room and just tell people, unless you have new documentation, you know, they reviewed all surveys in the town's possession. So basically, unless someone has a survey we don't know about, probably not a lot we can do. Deeds are kind of are the next best thing. If you don't have a survey, rely on the deeds. So the option one would be the direct mailing, and then have CAI in for some set amount of days. The mailing, because we can't do a bulk mailing, so it would have to be print, you know, 3,500-ish letters, stuff them, and then mail them with postage, probably $3,000 to $5,000 plus then the CAI time. I'll say the kind of CAI passive option, as I outlined it here, is just kind of put it on the website, put it on Facebook, put it on our bulletin boards with the new versus old info that people can go in and look up, either based on owner name, address, old mapping lot, new mapping lot. I think that would get some of the word out there, but it would kind of drag out people discovering it. A lot of people would probably discover it when they got their new tax bill, or maybe next time they go to do a building permit or come into town hall, they might notice. Kind of the custom option that I'm proposing, which I think is the one I think is probably the best value, is to do kind of the general postings, but then also through like a QR code like we did with the survey, which it doesn't work for everyone, but I think we'll reach a good number of people. Just tell people in Swanzey Uncovered, scan your phone here, see, they'd have to look up again their own property. But I think that kind of would get the word out there more than just the postings, but with a lower kind of effort level than the direct mailing to everyone. So if we were to go that option, we'd like to decide that soon because we are kind of in the final stages of wrapping up Swanzey Uncovered. So I know it's kind of throwing a lot at you. We've kind of been mulling it around, kind of going back and forth really over the last month. I don't know if anyone's perfect, but I think that's kind of our best option.
So, looking at the new map and lot numbers too.
Correct. Yeah, and that's every property because they're starting with numbers are either starting with 100 or 200, depending on the scale.
How about the parents report or anything? Say how many changes were made? Or can they do anything like that? Say
Good question.
5% of the properties that are issued.
I think a lot of them, probably most, I don't want to say all, but I think most of them will see some adjustment, but it might be like they thought they had 3 acres and now they have 3.03 or something, because everything's a little more precise. But I can see if they have something like that.
And then if it's even like a fractile backyards, over a certain
Yeah, and that's the other thing that kind of along that line bandied about, but we didn't know where to draw the line as well. Maybe send a direct letter to the ones that are significant,
Right.
but kind of how do you define that? And I hate to kind of think that we're picking and choosing because what's significant, what looks significant to us or insignificant to us might be significant to someone else. So, one last hurdle to get over. And it's kind of, as I was thinking about this, to me, it's kind of like when we went through the street name changes, I feel like we have to kind of, there really is limited flexibility to make adjustments. So we kind of have to go with this is, again, short of having a survey we don't know about, we really have to, I think, stand kind of strong on this one because, again, if you tweak it for someone, we have finite maps now thanks to the flyover and everything, so it's going to, one change like that could impact everything for a lot of other properties. It's got to come, any change has to come from somewhere.
What did they give you as potential pitfalls? What are the types of issues to arise? How many did they anticipate?
Well, in terms of pitfalls, they recommended not just posting the new maps without a lot of explanation because they're concerned that people aren't going to necessarily know how to look at them. They are set up differently. The other pitfall they said is basically don't pick an option that they don't like, get everyone mad, and then try to get them to come in and kind of mop it up after. So those were some of the kind of process pitfalls. I don't know if that.
So what kind of issues come up? Because like 3 acres or 3.1 isn't going to affect anything.
Right.
the current use.
The current use one.
But that's, once you get to 10, but if it goes down, it could affect subdivision. And then, as I mentioned, once you get to 10, so if somebody thinks they have 11 acres, right, and this shows that they don't have 11 acres, do they lose the current use?
They could, yeah, if we catch it, basically, yes, they would no longer qualify based on our records.
And I meant the 11 with 1 acre for the house, but do we know how many of those are in play?
I don't.
Is there a way we can find out? So we can
It might be on something like the occurrence report that's mentioned. We've only seen the maps, we haven't seen any of the other ones like that. We've seen old versus new, but kind of have to just go through. So.
In your administrator meetings, have you discussed it with other towns that have gone through it to get a sense from them as to what worked and didn't work?
I didn't discuss it with them, but these are from some of the same communities that folks that I know. Those were some of the options he outlined were ones that they had taken. I think Hanover had done a kind of passive option. I'm trying to remember which town through Tim, yes, but not, I don't think any of the folks that I meet with regularly were ones that have gone through it recently.
Did you get a chance to talk to Elizabeth to see how, to learn how Keen did it? Because theirs seemed to be relatively seamless.
I did not.
Maybe
When was theirs?
probably 3 or 4 years. I think it was, I don't know. I know they did the land development code roughly at the same time. Hinsdale was the first one.
And we could potentially be, I'll say, overthinking it. Maybe it will be more seamless than we're thinking. We're just trying to think of every possible pitfall. So
I think we'd like to have that sooner rather than at tax time.
and I know the big thing we recommend not doing, which is why we timed it when we did, not doing it during a revalue. So that acreage is in values and that the lots are all changing at the same time. So that's why it's important to get it done this year.
What was the difference between 100 and 200?
Based on the scale of the map. So like we're on Wilson Pond would be like a 200 because it's scaled differently.
Yeah.
I like the custom option.
Check with Elizabeth and see if she has any other magic insights, but otherwise custom option work okay.
You're the one going to be the owner.
Custom option, the bigger.
All right, fair enough. Thank you.
Okay. First quarter financial analysis.
Nothing of major concern. I worked with Julius on that, so I think he did a good job hitting on the major items, but for the first quarter, nothing major.
The ambulance service update.
So I received some responses from Mr. Coates on Monday and then some additional stuff on Tuesday. So I guess we have what we asked for, this in terms of info. I don't know, my main concern, especially when I looked at what they're charging between the list of the towns, come to my little spreadsheet, $133,000 to cover their $5 million EMS budget. Just, I don't know how
It's just a
that's
standby fee.
right.
They're still planning on 40% of the work and transport, so they are getting paid for it. So
Right. Transfer. Yep.
so then you want to make some money on that, but soften the bill for that.
Hopefully. That's the hope. I've been trying to keep, I haven't necessarily kept in touch with every other town, but Marlboro was circulating a letter, basically to Keene and the county, asking them to try to resolve their differences so that Keene will serve as the backup for the county versus using Great Brook. So I don't know if that's anything you're interested in participating or staying out of. And the case was that Rescue Inc. had told Marlboro that they're expecting to send out contracts and proposals on Friday this week.
Rescue Inc. is?
Correct. So I think, they gave us kind of the general idea of the per capita rates, but specific language proposals.
Do you know if they updated our population number?
I do not, I haven't had any contact with them since the meeting upstairs. But I did the math, so it was, what we think our population is 7,400. I think it came up to 368. So compared to 42, I don't know, it's just a big difference. I was thinking, what if this was like an auditing bid and someone bid 2,000 and someone bid 20,000? I'd be nervous about both of them, I guess is how I kind of feel, but I don't know what our alternative is. At 46 or 368, big difference.
So if we chose not to go with Rescue Inc., would they still have the ability to service other towns? Or were they serious with the all or nothing?
I think they would just have to subtract our population out of the per capita, so I think it would just increase the possible fees for everyone else to where it would be even more cost prohibitive. And they might not even be willing. I don't know. I heard the same stuff that they said to you. So I don't know any. I don't have any additional information beyond that. I think it would be hard for them to set up a base of operations with just the small towns.
And we're roughly, either way, we're roughly half the supplement, or whatever the term is, to cover their budget.
Yeah, standby.
Yeah, so if we go away, the rest of them pick it up.
Right.
So with the Keene, Cheshire, if Keene won't back up Cheshire and Cheshire doesn't back up Keene, who's going to end up backing up Keene?
I don't know if Rescue Inc. will continue to. I don't know.
Do they currently?
They are right now.
Because of right now with
Right.
the Deluzio thing. And what's Great Brook?
That's the organization that was at the meeting also. They're based out of, I don't know where they're based. I think they're based out of Pembroke, but I think they said at the meeting that they had a facility in Hillsborough. I think from what I've been told, they mainly do transfers.
They've been doing a lot of transfers at the hospital over the last couple of years.
So what's our EMS director have to say? What is his input?
Oh, me? Well, that's kind of Michael alluded to the, word about the backup, so, that has to be worked out. So, I mean, I know that the vast difference in cost is amazing, but, I mean, I like the way we're operating with Rescue Inc. at this time, so that's working out good operation. But I like the Rescue Inc. model because we have Keene as the backup. If we go county and there's nobody backing us up, we have to go back. We have to go out and find somebody to back us up. Now you say Great Brook, but I don't know exactly where they're coming from. So, yeah, there's a couple of variables there, but so far Rescue Inc. is working out really well.
And the price is right currently.
Oh, you can't beat the price right now. Yeah, but they're like, I guess it's not doing so great for them. So that's not gonna last forever.
Well, do we have the 150,000 roughly that it would cost to go on with them as of July 1? Actually, it'd be more than 150 if it was July 1, but August 1?
I mean, we could probably make it work. We'd have to rob from somewhere, but I think we have like 60 in the ambulance line item, so not in there only.
If I'm not mistaken, there's that email that came from the treasurer was for the town of Gilsum, so if she was anticipating, or it pertained to the town of Gilsum. So if they're anticipating Gilsum going with the county, and I heard that Richmond and Westerland are with the county, then can Rescue Inc. even do it? Because they indicated, I thought, all or nothing.
Yeah, the way I understand, I mean, basically Swanzey is kind of the linchpin there, so, Swanzey doesn't, they'll probably pull out if we don't go with them. Because like you said, there's only a couple towns that they won't be able to sustain that. It wouldn't be worth it for Rescue to stay in for that, But, Swanzey would make it worthwhile for them.
So So the Richmond town administrator told me this morning the board has not decided yet. They had questions for questions for Chris Coates at Cheshire EMS. I just forwarded his answers to me. I can give you an update when I hear back, and out of curiosity, has Swanzey decided yet? So they might have gone with them for the interim, but it doesn't sound like they've signed a contract yet. Same with Stoddard, I believe. So yeah, we budgeted 60,000 in ambulance, and we had spent 10.5 in the first quarter, and then we had to make a payment to the IRS for an additional month that would have gone to Deluzio. So I think we have about 48, 45 in that line item, so we'd have to rob from somewhere else.
The county had put out any fourth-year projections at all.
Correct. I think if we went with them, we'd want to start a expendable trust or something to start putting some money away.
Because one way or another, we're gonna get the 400. Just might be delayed a little while.
Sounds like Ken's looking forward to that in 4 years.
I'll tell you, I'm not envious.
So what do you suggest that we do?
I prefer to go with Rescue Inc. at this point in time. I think more of a sustainable model, you know, and they're willing to come over to this part, so.
Where are they going to be based?
Well, it all hinges on what the contract, so, you know, they didn't purchase property yet, but they would be based somewhere in Keene, I would imagine. Or it could be in this town, but they would be looking for property if they got, you know, if they were able to get assigned into, you know, they were going to be operating here. So they, you know, they leasing over on Marlborough Street now. They brought their training center over there. So I think that even if they pull out operational status with the ambulances, I'm pretty sure they're going to maintain that for their Benson training, emergency medical training. Yeah, so they would be looking for a property. They won't stay, they'll be based out of King Fire Station until they kick them out. Yeah, they have an agreement with them, they could be there for a time being. So I've also talked to them about possibly posting right here in town, possibly in Engine 1, Station 1. And, you know, obviously it's unmanned during the day, and they'd be able to post up there and have a little office facility, bathroom facilities, you know. But they're pretty busy, so they're in and out most of the time. But that would make sense if they were here in town, they were over, you know, in East Swanzey, they could cover East Swanzey, and North Swanzey. We're on this side of town, so you could have coverage here, they'll come over and meet us here, and if they get a call on that side, we go over and meet them. And that would protect the town a little bit better too. So I'm not sure if that would affect our rate at all, you know, it could. Those discussions haven't really come to anything conclusive, but something we can offer.
So what's the argument that we would use to support the additional $280,000 that we would be paying Rescue Inc. as compared to the county?
Yeah, when you just look at the numbers, and it's hard. It's hard. I mean, I look at the model, the service model, and the services available.
What does that mean, the service model?
The way they operate, the way they have their coverage, the way they can come and cover our town.
How is it different from the county?
Well, right now, it's not all that different because the county doesn't have that many services or that many contracts. So they're available if they're not doing transfers. So, I mean, when you just take the numbers, I don't know how you argue that. But
But I guess what we're trying to ask is pretend the numbers were the same. When you say the service model and the coverage, how do you see it as, how are you weighing them as different? Especially where we don't have a proposal from Rescue Inc. yet. And I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I think Rescue Inc. just, to provide better service, I think, I don't know. I mean, you could, not knocking anyone at the county, but, it's, again, with that unique situation is, they're here in town, so it's, you gotta look at that too, as far as, geographics go, There was some discretion or discrepancy about having an ambulance dedicated here for Swanzey through the county, but,
We were told that twice, and then Mr. Coates said that was not accurate.
yeah, so then that kind of, it's not possible, so they can, they can be tied up, be, obviously be based here in town, but be other places.
If 2 or 3 are on transfers and a couple 911s come in from Stoddard and Gilsum.
Richmond or wherever they're going, yeah, sure, and then, then who would be the backup? Great Brook, right? On paper, so,
Yep.
again, I don't know where they would be coming out of, so. Again, rescue, their backup is Keene Fire, which I would prefer as the backup. So they've been in town here in certain few situations already. And that's obviously a higher level of service for fire and EMS. So that would come back to our backup. So I don't know if another service isn't, if Great Brook doesn't end up backing up county, I don't know what other service would, or if those situations being worked out. I'm not sure, I don't have any information on that. But you can't beat the resources that they have endless resources, rescue. So.
Well, there's just so many variables. Somewhere I read that the county was gonna have 2 for transport and 2 for on-call, and then I heard him say a fifth unit, 3 for on-call. And Rescue Inc. is gonna have 2 for on-call. So that may resolve itself. I think backup is, we clearly know that, at least today, Rescue Inc. and Keene would work collaboratively.
Mm-hmm.
But if some of the towns are going to go with the county, that may be the default position anyway, if Rescue Inc. indicated that they had to have everybody. And of course, if some of the towns go, that just takes our cost up as well, so. But if Rescue Inc. isn't here, if Swanzey doesn't go, then Keene, if Swanzey doesn't go with Rescue Inc. and Rescue Inc. doesn't come to the county, then that means Keene's without a backup, unless they're working with Great Brook, and the county's without a backup unless they're working with Great Brook. So we're going to be in the same position for backup.
Yeah, I mean, if rescue pulls out tomorrow, goes back to Vermont, I'm not sure who the backup for Keene is, or who will be. I'm sure there's things that could be worked out, but I'm not, I don't have that information, so.
Well, Keene and Deluzio didn't play well together until when?
Until they did.
Until they did, yeah. They both realized there was a mutual
They need each
benefit.
other, yeah.
I think we just have to see the proposals, but on paper, not knowing what you know, just on paper, it seems like the county is where we need to go. I think it's very hard to justify that additional expenditure when basically it's almost apples to apples. If the county has 2 vehicles, then they both have 2 vehicles. If the county has 3, then the county has 3 and they have 2, unless they change the model and they have 3. So it seems like it would, the big difference would be the backup service.
Mm-hmm.
that until the county and Keene come together, then they're not gonna back each other up. But that still seems like a pretty hefty price to pay.
Maybe over the course of the next 3 years, we'll start paying attention. It's just a standby fee, it's not, maybe they're gonna see that they didn't need quite that much.
Ooh,
Rescue.
It's a dilemma, isn't it?
it's a dilemma.
Should we wait till we get the actual proposal from Rescue next week, if it comes next week?
Supposedly Friday, according to what they told Mark.
This Friday?
This Friday.
So we can make a decision Wednesday, based on that.
And that'll give you more time to review them too, see what.
Yeah, and I think, and Michael could speak to this, I think better than I can, as most things, but I think people are waiting to see what we're gonna do, so. Because it really hinges on what Swanzey does, so. Kind of the big fish here. So that's why everybody's always anxious, like, asking us, what the things are being discussed. So, but like you said, unless you have the paper proposal in front of you, it's hard to, really.
Is it worth inviting the other towns again for more of like a roundtable discussion versus the presentation style, but just maybe they have insights about the level of service that, maybe they can describe it in a way that makes sense, or maybe they, again, ask that question to Keene, okay, so if everyone goes with county, who's gonna be your back? You're really going to refuse to back each other up? Is that to kind of get some of these items flushed out a little bit better?
That would just be the towns and the administrators, or that would be, you bring them back in too?
Either way, yeah. Seems like, to your point,
we
we're
have the
all,
services, I think the services have made their pitch.
right,
Maybe time for the towns just to hash it out.
because I think once one or two kind of drop, we all lose our whatever negotiating position we have, and then it's like, oh, we'd like to change this in the contract, and they could say, no, we're just gonna leave it, and what's your choice? If a few start to drop and we don't have a choice, I think we lose a lot of our negotiating position.
I think if we focus the discussion on things like that, as opposed to what's gonna happen in 3 or 4 years, I think it would be productive. But if there's a desire to continue to discuss why the county is at X and why they aren't at Y, right? To me, it's immaterial. This is their proposal. They're gonna carry it for 3 years. That's the proposal. I don't care what happens in 4 years. Obviously we do, but realistically, we only have today to work with. So we would need to have a strong ability to move beyond that point of discussion, because it's just not material. And if there's no
answers,
there is no answer, and why debate it? But if it's looking at things in the contracts that you guys have picked out, or between you and Cordell, that could be hashed out in that meeting, I certainly think it would be beneficial. But you're right, once the dominoes start to go, the leverage changes. But it also puts us in a better position, because if Rescue Link wants to stay here, then they're gonna have to make it pretty attractive to us to stay. So anyway, I'd be in favor of it, but as long as it was a focus.
You think, boss, okay with that?
Yeah.
Next Wednesday night, and I have emails and stuff for people now, so I don't think we need quite as long to schedule it out. I don't think any of the other boards meet on Wednesdays.
Do you all feel like with Cordell, you could be prepared if it doesn't come until Friday, and arguably you're not looking at it until Monday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, I would say.
Rescue Inc.'s contract, though, is gonna probably be the same as what they offer all the Vermont towns. I think that's part of their town meeting style, that everybody gets the same deal. That's why Brattleboro bailed out on them, because Brattleboro by population got a healthy increase. So, not as healthy as ours, but you know, I think it is what it is, and I think those other contracts, from what I saw that you had sent, they're all the same.
Yep. Just the names changed and the numbers.
Y'all are the head of the show, so.
What do you think? Getting the towns back together.
Well, as far as the meeting goes,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm all for it, sure. I think people left that night anticipating we were gonna have another one.
And I think we were also, or at least I'll speak for myself, blown away by the disparity in the numbers. It seemed like a no-brainer until, you know, we kind of, A, thought about it a little bit more, and B, kind of got answers to some of these questions. And so I think there is merit to trying to, even if it's just to let everyone know which direction we think we're gonna go. And is anyone thinking something that we're not thinking, or,
Right.
so.
Yeah,